Yeah, we've got swag on the table over here if people want it.
Just start throwing rats into the crowd.
I like that idea.
done so before.
Live ones.
You guys probably have more libraries.
African tunnel rats.
Python instead of R.
I think it's a tunnel rat. It's the biggest rat in existence. It's like a cat. It's kind of like the rats from The Princess Bride.
Unusual size?
Those things scare me.
We are definitely rodents of unusual size.
See, if you start with
It's like it just spreads.
when you get to rodents of unusual size, I always just go to capybaras, which look like, sort of English gentlemen.
They always smile.
You can imagine them with a pipe going, good show will be. Just, they're very mellow.
My last couple hours of research have been trying
I
to
forget what publication listed him as the happiest creature on Earth. Was the capybara.
Capybara, really?
package version.
Always has a smile on his face.
They always look very smart.
The capybara.
Self-satisfied.
I always think they look British.
They did it cuddling too.
The lab has
They
Little pipes.
give him a little top
kind
hat.
of the worst.
Yeah, it's a good show. Good show. Well played.
And SHA.
Yeah, but I just thought I'd
Yes.
Alright, I think we'll go ahead and get started since we have a pretty full house and everyone seems to be fairly settled. So welcome to the Tools and Technology Seminar Series. We got a few new faces here, so I'll just give you a little introduction. It's basically the seminar series is a weekly seminar series. It's a venue to discuss tools, technologies, methodologies that are useful for researchers, that are in development, recently developed, sort of spans the range there. So there is a sign-in sheet going around. Please do just sign your name. It's just to help us justify the pizza, which we all enjoy getting week to week. So I'm pleased to present today's speaker, Debra McCaffrey. She is a business systems analyst for health, information, technology, and services. That's not what you are?
That's
That's
my.
what community said.
Well, that's because HR doesn't have my real title.
What is your real title?
Research Computing Facilitator.
All right, she's Research Computing Facilitator for Health Information Technology and Services, and she's going to talk to us about the electronic research network.
Great. So just real quick, I want to see who I'm talking to. So how many computational people do we have? Okay. Any wet lab people? No? Okay. That's a shame. They could use this too. Anyway, and then is it mostly students? Some faculty, some staff? Yep. All right. Cool. Okay. It's good to know. So, like she said, I'm from HITS. Specifically, we are the LabRX group. And we've got some colleagues over here, John, Ryan, and Steve. So, if you guys ever need help getting computational resources, you can come ask us and we'll help you out. I have a feeling you're pretty good at that already, so. Cool. So, this is just a little overview of what we're doing. I'm going to go into what is this notebook, a little background about it, some various high-level overview stuff, and then we'll jump into a demo. Cool. So this was an interesting project that started before I got here. I'm really new. I'm only like 3 months now. Anyway, George Mashore came to the Research IT Council and was really interested in getting an electronic notebook for campus. So we went, well, not me, they went through a long process of analyzing different types of notebooks, going out and talking to researchers and having them see what works for them best. And eventually we found that the company Lab Archives was a good choice for a general purpose electronic research notebook. And so we actually got funding for all 3 campuses. This is available in Ann Arbor, Dearborn, and Flint. Cool, and it's endorsed by a bunch of high-level people, so it's probably going to be around for a while, which is also good. So now we're just trying to make sure everybody knows about it. Cool. So an interesting thing is that you can put sensitive data in the ERN. There's some caveats, of course. If you have clinical data, there's more appropriate places to put it first, like the Clinical Trials Management System, or MyChart, or OpenClinica, or REDCap. But if you're not using any of those, you can put sensitive data in the notebook. If any of you happen to be working with ITAR, though, we are not approved for that. So our feeling is that anywhere is better than a paper notebook, so go ahead and put it in. Cool. So what is it? Really, it's mostly a data management tool. It's just a place for you to put all your data, organize it, give it metadata to make it searchable, and also help share it with anyone who might need access to the data. It is secure, and it is cloud-based. We had a couple questions about that. It's essentially running on Amazon, although we also have Mbox behind it for storage. And what's really cool is it's this living repository. You can constantly change it, rearrange it, move it around. It's just super flexible, super fluid, and just really great to help you get all your data in one place and give it a structure that works for your lab. And you can, yep.
You said this works on Amazon, so you guys are just using an EC2 compute to service this, but then you're migrating the data from Mbox?
The vendor's doing the integration with them.
Okay.
You can't tell whether it's on AWS or Box.
Okay.
So, but that's an important thing to remember, though, because that's what limits your file size. So Box has a limit of 15 gigabytes per file, but unlimited after that. So, but the actual notebook itself is all browser-based, so you can use it from any computer. They actually have apps for mobile devices as well, and those actually have voice capture, which is pretty fun. So it's just a really flexible tool, can access it pretty much anywhere. So I mentioned it is mostly a data management tool. No matter what type of data you produce, you can put it in the ERN. Any file can go in there. And they do have some native editing of a lot of types of files. You can edit Office documents. You can edit images. You can edit PDFs. And some programs have plugins as well to help you connect the data from the notebook to the program. One of them is Prism. So you can open it from the notebook, edit it in Prism, and save it back to the notebook. As I mentioned, you can create a lot of metadata. Everything has descriptions, tags. You can go crazy with all the metadata, and all the different fields are all searchable. You can even search by chemical structure if you know the SMILE format for it. So that, I feel, makes it way more powerful than a paper notebook. You don't actually have to put thought into a table of contents or just flip pages. You can just type it in, it'll come up and search. It's great.
Does it do versioning of the documents?
Yes, it does. So yes, there's versioning, and it's all time-stamped. So you have a full time-stamped history of everything that goes on in the notebook, which is very nice for discovery, say for a patent or paper. You can't actually delete anything in the notebook. You can hide it, basically send it to trash, but it will still be there. You have very granular control over who can see or edit whatever in the notebook. It behaves a lot like Google Drive in that way. You can share a folder, you can share a document. There's also a notebook object, which is basically just the parent folder. And you can share at any of those levels. And you have control over whether they can view it or if they can view and edit. Lots of control there. And say the data becomes a paper, you need to make it available publicly. You can do that from the notebook. You can give it a DOI, which is really cool. And it's all just in one place where you can download, share, whatever you need to do. Oh, and I covered that one. Yep.
When you say you can make the data available from the notebook, does that mean it's actually being published in LabArchive, or does the system support transfer to other like disciplinary archives that might be better places to deposit data sets?
So I don't know if there's like a specific connector for that, but what you can do is export data from LabArchives in like an HTML or a PDF format, and then you could put that to this other archive.
Yeah, that's incredibly unhelpful for tabular data.
Okay.
If you're exporting a whole bunch of spreadsheet-based data as a PDF, that's essentially useless for reuse.
Okay.
Sorry to be the wet blanket on that.
What you could do is, it's not a publishing engine, it's a collaboration engine. So if you want to share a spreadsheet with a dozen people, both within and without the University of Michigan tribe, you can do that.
Right, but if you're publishing your data in support of a paper that you now have going out, you need to be able to get that
lady
reusable.
right
Yeah, well,
We've met.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not intended to, at this point, serve as a repository. One of the things that we hope to be able to do down the line is have direct pipelines into things like Deep Blue data. That's not there yet. It actually, for all intents and purposes, the DOI is not there yet for us either, because LabArchives only makes things available under a CC0. So until they step that up so that there's different levels of sharing that users can select, we're turning that feature off.
Okay.
Oh, that's good to know. Yep.
So I think most of the people here work, when you say data, I kind of want to more specifically talk about it. So most of the people here work with the biological data, which is often pretty big. So does the notebook support this storage of big files internally using that Amazon or Box or Drive? And then does it provide the API to programmatically access the storage?
No API. You can only access the storage from the notebook. And there is the file cap of 15 gigs per file. But what you can do is link to data from within the notebook.
There's no API at all in the notebook? Okay.
Nope.
There is an API, but I don't think it's useful in the sense that you're talking about, storing a large data file and then trying to access it analytically.
It wouldn't really, for me, be storage. Like, we're using a different product now, and we have pipelines that run, and as they complete steps, they use an API to write the result back into a dashboard so we can see what's going on.
Probably do that.
Okay.
The tools to do it don't exist, but the API right? I think you can do that.
Okay.
With this being a computational group, one of the big things that would be like appropriate in a notebook is code.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have anything like GitLab instance or something that allows it's collaborative, something that's versioning and management of code.
So all the files in here have versions.
Yeah, but
Not in GitLab sense though. Everything you put in here gets versioned. So you can iteratively track through versioning, but it's not displayed in the same sense as code would be if you were viewing it via a GitLab interface or via your coding editor.
or GitHub.
It's still there. It looks like code reading it, but it's not
But I
displayed.
was saying, people are looking for support for things that allow branching on projects.
I think they're gonna
Things
wanna
like
use
that.
Git for that and just link out to it.
Yeah.
And we have a GitLab instance we run out of HITS that's available. If that's a blocker for you, that you have access to something that you can, that's within Michigan Medicine.
Cool. So, this is the big takeaway. This is how to get started. You go to erm.umich.edu, and this is our login page to get there. And it will use your Michigan credentials to create your Lab Archives account. It's level 1, so your Kerberos password. And it does use Duo for two-factor authentication. But that means it also uses the single sign-on. So chances are you might have already signed into one thing, so it'll just sign you in, and it's great. So if you haven't yet, we've got some Post-it notes on the table that have the URL on them, so you don't forget. Cool. So I mentioned this earlier. This is kind of how permissions work with the notebooks. You have 4 different types of roles. You have a notebook owner who owns the notebook. So this would be the PI in most cases. You can have users who can edit. You can have guests. Those would be like external collaborators. They can view only or view and edit. And then you also have administrators who can control permissions of other users and guests. So it's not solely on the notebook owner to manage access.
How easy is it to like change the owner?
Easy.
Pretty. Okay.
Yep. There is a transfer ownership button.
And so an administrator is just within that notebook. The owner gets to determine who are the administrators. It's not like the admins are above all owners.
Right. Right. So owners on top. And then you have to designate an administrator per notebook. All right. So here's an example of different programs that are integrated with it. Office, Google Docs, GraphPad, Chem Doodle inside it, which is nice if you need to draw some structures. But as I said, you can put any file you want in here. It's just, depending on the file, you might have to download it again if you want to do some analysis and then re-upload it.
Your collaboration, what PI are you guys using? Are you guys using the Google Collaborate for collaborative abilities?
What do you mean by collaborative ability?
You have collaboration. I'm thinking like real-time collaboration.
You
Oh.
can.
Mhm.
So you can simultaneously edit a Word doc with a BUD or an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Or, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, but who's
But
the?
it's all through Lab Archives.
It's all through LabArt. Okay,
Yeah.
so Google.
So
It's not Google.
if you're collaborating with somebody, you got to give them access to it. They have to sign into Lab Archives.
And,
Right.
and this is, part of this is due to the fact that it's certified for EPHI.
Mhm.
We want to keep stuff in there, especially with EPHI.
So when I say collaboration, I mean you're working with someone at Berkeley or MIT, or even someone else on campus.
Well, we have a lot of that. That would start there. Maybe even down the hall, but then go into another department or school, and then go to Berkeley.
Yeah, but you're not limited to U of M collaborators. Cool. So now a demo. Yay. Oh gosh. Can I change the resolution, or is that gonna not fly with the projector?
Okay. Go for it.
Weird. Except I don't know where it went. Let me try this. Aha. This might work better. Cool. So just real quick, I'll show you this page. Right, so this is what the login page looks like. You click login. If you have not signed on yet, the web login comes up. You have to use Duo. But if you are signed in, it'll just take you straight to the lab notebook, which looks like this. Basic view is you've got a navigator on the left and whatever you're looking at in the notebook on your right. So for the demo, I'll go ahead and create a new notebook. And when you're creating a new notebook, you can have one that's completely empty, start your organization from scratch, or you can use templates. There's a lab template, classroom template. You can copy from another notebook. Oh, I need another character. Cool. Create a notebook. All right. And their lab template's pretty good. It's got things like protocols, SOPs, MSDSs, a few other folders that are already populated. So these folders are all under the notebook called Demo DCMB. And then under each folder, you'll find this new tab. You can do plenty of stuff there, create new folders, create new page, which is the actual unit where you start taking notes. You can actually copy an existing page, which is super helpful. So if you have a type of entry that you do all the time, you can create a template page and then just copy it. But I'm just going to add a new page, call it something. And then on pages, you have things that are called entries. And there's quite a number of different types of entries. Like there's rich text. Cool. Save it. And so now you have a time-stamped rich text entry. You can do attachments to add whatever you'd like there. I have an MSDS for pyridine. I'll add that there. And you can use this one for any type of file. You can tag it for searchable tags. So then if I go up to the search now, I look up pyridine. Hey now. Might need to go to tag. Yep, so now my tag pyridine comes up. So PDFs you can view directly from the notebook. Standard PDF viewer. So that's cool there. Other things you can do for Office documents. If you have an Office document on your computer, you can upload it. And then you can start editing it straight from the notebook. Cool. And you close your window, refresh. Maybe thinking about it, there it goes. And view it again, and see, changes are there. And this is the part where you can edit simultaneously.
So do other users see that you're in that document at all, or?
You can do that too. Where did that go? You can check it out, like file checkout. I think you have to go into the notebook settings to set that up. But they do have that capability, and that'd be by entry. So
How can I view the history of the file as it changes?
that is revisions. If you want to share just an entry, you can do that there. So that's what the revision history looks like. So standard drive box-like versioning.
The timestamp is linked to the National Time, to a time server.
Cool. So, and if you don't have a document already, you can create a new one. Alright, so now you have one directly in the notebook. Cool.
Can you delete folders?
You can move them to trash, essentially. But you can't ever delete anything completely. You can just hide it. So, yeah. So everything deleted comes down here to deleted items. Alright. So, now the type of entry I think is the most fun are the widgets. Go to widget. And so there's a whole bunch of widgets that you can choose from. So you have something like a bacterial growth calculator. Right, how many do we have? Aha! Calculated the growth weight. Awesome. And you can create your own widgets and share those as well. So these are nice for, like, maybe you need to calculate the concentration of your titrated stock solutions, something like that. Sky's the limit with these. They're very flexible.
So let me ask you about that, the sky's the limit. So back to Al's thing. You know, we have these kind of complex pipelines that we run. So did we report, you know, those workflows right into this? Replicate. I mean, how much can this take?
So let's see.
Documenting them and stuff, making.
I'm talking about ultimately setting them up and running.
So the widgets are all in HTML. So
that's the limitation.
Yep.
pretty primitive.
The product of the pipeline can be captured automatically. So you can, there's a file capture utility that you can point at a folder, and it's primitive. But you can say, look in this folder, anything appears, you put it in this notebook or in this folder in this notebook. The tragedy is that the PC is, I don't know how else to say this. The PC has to be on with you logged in. Of course it has to be on. But it doesn't run as a service. So if the PC is merely on, it don't work. It's got you got to be on the PC and logged in as a person for that file pickup utility to download.
Logged into the notebook?
No.
Not like at the login window for Windows.
I see.
PC because it doesn't go with Macs.
It does go. There's a Mac and a PC.
Yeah, I mean we're Linux. We've got a lot of that going on. So we do, just so you know, we're doing some of this kind of stuff with Tableau pretty well.
Yeah, this is no.
Yeah. So we have Tableau and there's a license there, so it's a pretty powerful thing.
The initial intent of this was to replace flammable paper lab notebooks. People kept damaging their lab notebooks or losing them, or leaving an institution, either leaving the notebook behind and not having a copy of their data, or taking their notebook with them and the institution no longer has a copy of their data.
Yeah.
It's a trouble.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So it's also the good news is this has been a very easy to work with vendor. Most features come from user suggestions. They have very active forums, users share widgets, and a lot of the suggestions that come in from users are built into the updates.
Yep.
So does it support Evernote style in document search? So can you like open the search bar, start typing in, and then it shows you like the Word and PDFs that have those words in them?
Oh, does it search within files? Let's check it out. Let's see. Hey, it can at least do PDFs. So, probably depends on the file type then.
Read on the paradigm search where before it did not seem to find metadata. This file had that in a tag, but also metadata.
Right, that was, first time I tried it, I just used the search bar. I'm not sure what it's searching here, but yes. Oh, no, it's coming up. Right. It's also highlighted my description, so I'm guessing this search bar searches all fields. Maybe the first time I tried it, it just hadn't refreshed yet or something. So, but here, down here, this is fun. You can search by chemical structure. Here, first, let me show you what you can do with structures. So unfortunately, there's not a direct integration to ChemDraw. It uses Chem Doodle natively, which is not quite as powerful. But what you can do, there we go. Haha, I had fun just creating a molecule. You can copy something from ChemDraw as mole text. And then in here, it's a widget. Where's widgets go? Widget called Chemical Sketcher. Use Chemical Sketcher. And then if you click on the open folder button, you can paste your mole file and you get your structure from ChemDraw. And then you can also do this straight in Chem Doodle. It's just limited. Right, so now, entry contains chemical structure. So I was playing around with also in ChemDraw copy as smile and then putting it in the search. I think there must be a discrepancy between the versions of smile or something. So that's something to watch out for. The smile you export from ChemDraw might not work, but you can also just use the Chem Doodle straight into the smiles search. So, say I want to look for there it goes. All right. All right, so I'm going to see if there's an aromatic ring with methyl. Use this. Cool. So then it converts it to the smile structure for you, and you can search. Oh, hey, look, pyridine. Oh no, that's because yes. There we go. Right. So now my larger molecule came up when I searched for the fragment. So there's a lot of things you can do in here, lots of ways to organize, which is also a bit of a pitfall, because to really be useful, you need to come up with a plan at the beginning and make sure everyone follows it, just so it can actually get organized and be useful for you. So that's probably the hardest part, and that's why I would suggest talking with Marisa and the folks at the library. They are good at data management, so. But there's tons of ways you can organize it. Like, if it's usually one person per project, then maybe you'll have a notebook per person. Or if you have multiple people on a project, you could have a notebook per project. If you have a shared instrument, the instrument could get its own notebook for all the raw data. And then you could figure out how to organize the analysis after that. There's just tons of ways you could do it, and it's really up to your lab to figure out what is the best way for how you work.
Yeah, but are there checklists in there? So, like, say you were doing an experiment or something, and there were certain steps that you always had to go through. Is there, like, a checklist where you could check off?
You can make your own checklist widget. Yep.
So often these kind of processes relate to organization of the experiments, organizational processes. Does it support any kind of integration with like project management or issue tracking tools? I don't know, sort of Jira or Redline or some of those things. Can you like create an issue in Jira and say this is the notebook?
That's a good question. Aha.
That's
So
actually something we have to ask. I don't know. We haven't talked about that one. To your question about the checklist, there are multiple ways you can do it. It's one. You can also write protocols that are literal check forms to follow through and require input before you proceed. So there are several ways you can do it.
let's see if I can check.
So let's say we were using a product before this became available, and we have a investment into that. But now, because of this, we want to transition to this. Is there any way to migrate? I mean, I understand that there are some things that are unique to this, but in terms of spreadsheets, documents, some common formats and things, can we bulk migrate into this, or how are we going to get all of that stuff into this?
At one time I knew what you're using, but I don't recall the name. Probably not without exporting where you are now.
And that'd be fine.
But there is a tool that can do an import. But it might be, we have to try it.
Okay.
But there is a tool that can, I think, can help pick it up. But I can't guarantee you that it's going to pick everything the way it should. That makes sense.
What else was I going to say? Oh. So another nice feature is that all the pages in here are signable with a digital signature, and they can also be witnessed. That's something you can set up. You can have pages, it's required that they're witnessed or not. That is right here. So for like, back to the purposes of discovery, you could go ahead, sign your page. Caveat is once it's signed, it cannot be modified anymore. So, but if you find that you do have to modify it, what you can do is still copy the page and have a new page that's still editable, and you can keep going. Yep.
So it looks like how you're ordering entries is mostly by chronology. Is there any way to, say if you want to keep an entry near the top of the page, like pin it, like if you have a link to a GitHub repo or something like that, that you always want easy access to, can you pin entries?
Let's see, you can rearrange them. Let's see, can you pin it? Well, they'll kind of stay in the order you put them in, and then like with the attachment, it asks you, oh, it didn't ask me there. It'll usually put it on the bottom. But sometimes you get asked if you want to add it to the top or the bottom. But yeah, let's add something again. Yeah, so if you wanted this demo up at the top, you just move it.
What about ordering the pages themselves under the folders?
You just click and drag to reorder. So, folders too. Maybe, there it goes. Cool, yeah. So, super flexible. That's what I meant by it's real fluid. You can change it as you need to.
Again, the thing you got to keep in mind is this is to take the place of a paper notebook. You know, can you do certain things in a paper notebook that we've talked about? No, but this is on the cloud. It's safe. It's backed up. You're not going to have to worry. One of the things that Steve showed us is there was these guys. They went out with their paper notebook, went out to some cow pasture to do some work, and they literally dropped their paper notebook into the cow stuff. So all their work was ruined. So.
Your laptop would be.
So I'm just curious. How many people are using paper notebooks now? You know, that's the difference. Now, when I went through grad school, we all had paper notebooks. Sometimes we had to have them countersigned by somebody if we had patents or something like that. But I didn't see any hands raised. I mean, you know, so.
Well, not here. I mean,
maybe,
the LSA biology departments, the faculty I talk to there are still largely, I mean, even people who are doing a lot of computational work or a lot of data heavy work, a lot of them are still using paper notebooks. There are not a lot of people who have systematic electronic
that's
systems.
a good point, and I think there are a bunch of differences depending on where you go. The closer to the kind of traditional wet lab you get to, you probably get to see more and more. But, you know, I think it's important to point out that here, you're not replacing it. It's like the old EMRs. I mean, the EMR was designed to get rid of paper. So they, instead of making an EMR that we wanted to use or could take advantage of all the things that we could do, you know, we have an EMR that was like basically copying the paper form that we used to use. Epic is a good example of that. It's a paper form with pull down.
So let's see. I come from chemistry, so that's my background. But like any of your simulation programs, like LAMPS or Gaussian, if you do quantum, you could collect like your input script, your output script, your error script, all on the same page, so that you know which files went together. And you could even start adding metadata to make it a little more searchable. Or you could write down, oh, hey, this thing in the output file doesn't look right. I'm going to redo it. And just write notes to yourself about your thought process. Just so you don't have gazillions of files without much information about them.
I hope none of you guys are locked into this, but what's the last thing computer people do? Don't document your programs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is another way you can document your work. What is everybody using for this kind of work right now? Are you just throwing up some Google Docs or
Evernote?
Oh, if you use Evernote, you can export that and then drop it in here.
what are you using?
GitHub issue.
That's a GitHubs? Okay.
I think most of the labs are using some kind of combination of tools that are so integrated between themselves. So we are in School of Nursing using a combination of GitHub with the project management and GitHub integrated with Slack, integrated with Evernote, and then I don't remember. Yeah, so some kind of, because you know practically people try, but it's possible to create a tool that's going to do everything. So it's usually kind of like for and Google Docs for writing.
I think that's really what we, you know, Alex, half the times in my lab too, and the other Alex. I mean, I think that's ultimately what we run into. You have like this tab open. We're not going to get rid of it. I mean, if anything, we're going to build with it. I mean, we're not going to have one electronic resource to support our lab. It's not going to work that way. Sure. I mean, we have these workflows and these pipelines. We put a lot into it. There's no need to change it, you know. So the question kind of becomes, what's the integration function, you know? Because, you know, and what's kind of time stamping this stuff, and what's giving access to others. You know, having a place where the data goes that other people, including, you know, maintaining the sponsor's requirement for data sharing. I mean, that's a big piece of this, actually. So my sense is it's, for every lab, it's a number of different tools and capabilities that we use and integrate together the best way we can. So this would be another tool in the toolbox, but it's not going to be the centralized function necessarily.
It's another tool, and it's provided for you. There's no mandate to use it. It's just something you may choose if it's useful to you.
Yeah. So
there's no cost, and it's supported by central IT.
Yep.
So,
which is
you can get help.
Beneficial.
You don't have to sit there and figure it all out yourself.
And for the PIs, when your students leave, you have their data still. You don't have to worry about them taking it all with them. Yep.
You know, this will, if anybody works in wet lab, this is going to probably make you gasp, and it goes against the ethos of a notebook. But I like deleting stuff off my computer when I don't need it anymore. Yes, you can delete things, but you can do that to a lab notebook. You fill it up and you find out, or you get halfway through a project and you realize this project's failing, this isn't going anywhere. I don't need to keep that notebook for all eternity. Sooner or later you learn your lesson, you can throw that notebook away.
This is a very good thing to bring up, because it brings up this whole idea of, you know, there's this whole scientific fraud aspect to it. Because, you know, the notebooks are, you know, what people go to when there is, you know, consideration of some kind of malfeasance or something like that. And in fact, you know, it would be interesting to look at the standard practice guide, but I thought you could, in short order, find out that killing lab notebooks is not, like, even allowed. So,
it's a bad idea.
Yeah,
because
is there a data retention policy? Like, we're going to keep this
well,
for
by the
14
way,
years.
that's a fantastic question. And in fact, we need more discussion about that, but in fact, the data retention policies look worse than the 7-year requirements. So that's why we're building these deep blues and all these relatively inexpensive archive systems, including the ones we can get from Amazon to deal with these sponsor requirements, which are every bit as bad as what we have in the clinics.
And one of the things that we think about is when you have that eureka moment and you can get somebody in your lab to countersign, and now you have something to bring to your lawyer and say, figured it out first year. And the way we look at it is that was more important than perhaps a few extra kilobytes of data in the infinite Amazon and Fox storage.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one, and I don't know for sure. Here's my guess. That whole concept is, I think, been superseded by, what we tend to do in my laboratory. Every freaking meeting, we're always putting on intellectual property and writing provisionals. It's all part of what we do. And I think what the old way was just like you said. You have put it in your lab notebook and have to have it countersigned. And in fact, when I ran Biogen, that's the way we did it, and that's the way we set it up. That's the way we set it up in Jim Baker's lab when we started the Nano Center that spun off NanoBio. That's the way you did it. Now, however, what you do is you write up your idea, kind of to get a priority date for the disclosure. It's kind of a 2-pager. You send that into tech transfer, and they timestamp it. You put the inventors in there. And then the next thing you do is you start writing the provisional patent. Open up that timestamp opens up a file so you can talk to the lawyer after they approve you. And then, you start writing your provisional. And then the date of the provisional is, when you file the provisional with the lawyer, then you get that 1-year date. So all that kind of stuff that we used to do, we don't actually do anymore. So it's important to recognize that. We don't. Years ago, I don't think anybody's aware of it, but there was a demonstration in my lab way back in the early days on a Windows system that we had developed for the Visible Human and the Visible Embryo project, which led to a lawsuit against Microsoft Corporation that landed a settlement of about $1.4 billion. Because there was a demonstration in the laboratory of a windowing system that we had developed that ultimately the main inventor was this guy out of San Francisco, sued him and won. It was an interesting story. I think he kept his marriage going, maybe. But anyway, and then the lawyers came and they deposed us. We didn't have any kind of notebooks, but we had records about he came and gave a talk, he showed the seminar. This is a long time ago. The lawyers come, they depose you. You want to write a patent, it's coming out of UMich. Log in, there's an easy way. You upload your 2-pager, you get the names down. Tech transfer, Drew Bennett comes back to you and says, you got a file. You can now talk to the lawyer. You get the phone call. You outline the provisional. If you're smart about it, you write the provisional, keep the lawyer's costs down. They tweak it, you file it, you get the date. And that's how we do it now. There's no sign notebooks. We don't do it.
The patent system changed.
Yeah, everything changed.
It was first to file now. Or
Yeah.
First to invent. Now it's first to file.
It's first to file. And so all these old behaviors we don't do anymore. We used to have to do them, but we don't. We have new behaviors. Would electronic notebook help? Absolutely. Usually you forget stuff. It's good to write it down. But the real issue is that we got to discuss is that labs are made up of many people that come and go. And then there's all this BYOD around. That's probably the biggest elephant in the room. You got all this BYOD, and you got all these people in the thing. And if you had a cloud, that's an advantage. They could log onto the cloud. These undergrads and grad students are doing rotations, could at least stick their stuff in one place that the lab would have access to. And it's this pull, the University of Michigan, at the end of the day, who owns everything? The University of Michigan, the regents of the University of Michigan. That's who signs the grants. They own it all. And so, but I'm not so sure that every undergrad that comes in your laboratory believes that or does that. And so, so there's this gray zone that when you do have so many, 85% of the devices in our laboratories are owned by the people coming in and out. They're BYOD. what would be the right thing to do from a SPG perspective. Likely it would be to log on to some kind of cloud and leave it there. And I think that's probably, when the dust settles, that's probably the SPG we're going to write. Yeah.
We actually got a horror story from a PI who had a undergrad researcher leave with all her photographs on his iPhone. And she had to chase him down, and I don't remember where he ended up, to get her photos of some of her experiments that she needed back off his iPhone. So,
well, we have that. So the big debate right now, as the kids probably know, is that there's frankly, I think it's a dead duck. But the idea would be that if the student brings the notebook in and they at least go into the wired network, then they would have to be air watched. But the AirWatch is, it's one thing if you're working for McKinsey or Deloitte or something like that, and they own your machine, then they core image it and they own it. But if the student walks in, it's their machine. So who owns what's on their machine? They own it. So this would be a strong argument for the cloud-based notebook. I think the biggest argument for the cloud-based notebook is to get around the BYOD and the encryption piece with AirWatch.
You can get to it from M-Wireless, you can get to it from MGuest.
Exactly.
Get it from your cell phone.
That's kind of where I think this whole thing needs to go. All right, I ran you over, and I'm sorry. Thank you very much, guys, and good to see everybody. The world's changing. No, it's just very